Good to see you. As far as props go, if you have blocks and you like using them, blocks will probably be handy. And as always, I think a cushion is a good thing to have around. So if you have a cushion or a pillow of some sort, that can be useful. And let's start laying down today. So have a lie down on your back and maybe bring your feet to the floor with your knees bent so you're in constructive rest pose. And once you're there, you might stretch your arms out and stretch your legs out. And just kind of get in a full body stretch. Maybe take a few really deep breaths. And you could circle your ankles and your wrists if that feels good. And then bring yourself back into constructive rest with your feet on the floor. Lift your arms up and take a peek at your hands. And then squeeze your fists and lift your shoulders up a little bit. Rotate your hands around so your wrists are doing circles. You can drop your shoulders back down. And then change direction. So you're circling your hands in the opposite direction. And then release those fists. Wiggle your fingers and shake out your arms a little bit. And then drop your arms and bring your hands, if it feels okay, bring your hands maybe one to your chest and one to your stomach. And if you feel like closing your eyes, you can close your eyes and take a few really deep breaths here. And so, wherever your hands are, if you have one on your chest, one on your stomach, or maybe both somewhere along your torso, just notice the rise and fall of your torso as you take a few really long, slow, deep breaths. And as you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can open them and take your time pulling your knees towards your chest to whatever degree that works for you. And if it feels okay, you could rock from side to side a little bit. Just kind of notice what it feels like to roll over your spine. Then come back to center and notice if your hips are up off the ground, which they probably will be. Can you press your hips into the ground? So, kind of drawing your tailbone down a little to see if that changes anything. And then you can release that and draw some circles with your knees. So you're starting to mobilize your hips in their sockets. And you might rotate one on its own and then rotate the other one. And you can kind of use your hands to help move your legs around. Then drop your knees back down. And with your feet on the floor, drop your left knee out to the side. So your foot will kind of turn. And then stretch that leg out, then draw it back up to where it was. And try that a couple of times on that side. So you're dropping your knee out, stretching your leg out straight, then pulling your knee back in. And it doesn't have to be precise. You're just kind of starting to move things around. Notice what it feels like. And once you've done it a few times with your left leg, try it with your right leg. So knee comes out, leg stretches out straight, and then comes back to the starting position. And as you're doing this, you might notice what parts of you have to engage and what parts of you can relax. You might notice if there's any part of you that's tensing up that doesn't have to tense up. And once you've done it a few times on the right side, you might consider trying it with both legs together. And if that doesn't work for you, that's fine. You can go back to one side and then the other. But if you are trying it with both legs, just notice how it's different. Once you've done that a few times, the next time your feet are on the ground, pull your right leg in towards your chest. You might give it a little squeeze here. You might move it around a little bit. And then when you're ready, extend that leg up towards the sky. And once it's pointed up, see what it's like to point and flex your foot a few times. So you might notice if you feel a stretch anywhere. And once you've done that a few times, bring your foot into that flexed position, which we call dorsiflexion. And if you'd like to try stretching your left leg out straight on your mat, you could try that. If it feels better to have your foot on the floor with your knee bent, you can do that. But wherever you are, see that your hips are as level as they can be on your mat. See if you can keep your foot flexed. Maybe you flex both feet and see what it's like to kind of actively pull that upper foot towards your body. So you're pulling your whole leg actually towards your body. And it doesn't matter where it is. So maybe it's way down here, maybe it's up a little higher, maybe it's way up. Wherever it lands, just notice what you're feeling. Notice what has to work to keep it there. And you might press your lower foot or leg into your mat, kind of the little bit of activation there. And then when you're ready, you can release that leg down and place your right foot on the floor. Then pull your left knee in. You can do the same thing here. So find a little movement in that hip. And then when you're ready, you can extend that leg up towards the sky. Wherever it lands, it lands. Start trying to see yeah. Start trying to see what it feels like when you point and flex your foot. Steph might be a little tired today, as usual. But as you're pointing and flexing that foot, notice if it feels different from the other side. I'm noticing on this leg, some Rice Krispie sounds that weren't happening on my other side. So that's different. And once you've done that a few times, flex your foot. And if you would like to try extending your right leg out on your mat, you can do that. If you're more comfortable with that foot pressed into the floor, knee bent, you can do that. But wherever you are, bring some activation into both of your legs so that you're kind of squeezing your left leg up towards your body and pressing your right leg down into the ground. Just gently. You might check in with your neck and shoulders, maybe your jaw, to see that those places aren't trying to do all the work for you. And make sure you're breathing as you do this. And then when you're ready, you can bring your left leg down again. And maybe here you bring both feet to the floor and kind of toe heel your feet out, and then drop your knees to one side and then the other for some windshield wipers. As always, moving at your own pace, just kind of feeling what's there and using this movement in a way that works for you. Once that feels complete, bring yourself back into your constructive rest pose. So, feet on the floor, knees bent. And this time, bring the soles of your feet kind of right under your knees. Bring your arms alongside your body. And then begin rolling your spine up, starting from the tail until you lift yourself up into kind of a straight line from your knees all the way down to your shoulders for Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. You might take a peek at your knees and your thighs. See that your thighs are pretty much parallel with each other. And you might lift your toes here and see if it's possible to press down through your big toe mounds, your pinky toe mounds in your heel. Spread your toes and then drop them down. And keep that kind of equal balance of pressing down through those three corners. Take a few deep breaths here. And as you're ready, roll your spine down, starting from the top. You might see if it's possible to do it very slowly, kind of noticing each vertebra dropping down just one at a time until you're back flat on the ground. And anything you want to do here, go ahead. Maybe you want to pull your knees into your chest. Maybe you want to stretch your legs out. It's up to you. Take your time doing whatever you need to do here. And then when you're ready, set up for another bridge. And again, slowly roll your spine up. When you get to the top, you might notice where the weight is in your feet. And you might consider seeing what it's like to isometrically press your feet down and squeeze them towards your body. And notice if that feels any different. So your feet won't move, but it might engage some things. And then when you're ready, you can roll yourself back down And if you'd like to take time in between, we're going to do another bridge. You could try a few windshield wipers or anything else that feels right there. And then when you're ready, try rolling yourself up into another bridge. And while you're up in your bridge pose, just make sure you're breathing and noticing what you're feeling. And when you're ready, you can roll yourself back down. Once you're back down on the floor, take your right foot and flex that foot. Place that ankle over your left knee, right above your knee, and start to press your right knee a little bit away from your body so that you're externally rotating your hip. And from here, you can stay there, or you might try lifting your left leg up towards your body. And if you're doing that, you might consider bringing your right hand through that space between your legs and interlacing your hands either behind your hamstring on that left leg or around the shin of that leg. It's up to you. So, what you're looking for here is some sensation in your right hip, potentially. So, this is going to be sort of a stretch for your outer right hip. This is Sucharandrasana. And as you're here in Sucharandrasana, if it feels good, you could circle your left ankle around a couple of times. And when you're ready, you can release that and we'll switch sides. So your right foot will be on the ground. Flex your left foot. Bring that ankle over your right knee. Start to press your left knee away from your body a little. And from there, check in with your hip and decide if you want to keep your right foot on the ground or do you want to pull that foot up towards your body. Maybe interlacing your hands behind your hamstring on that right leg or in front of your shin. And again, you might, if you're lifting your legs up, you might consider rotating your right ankle. And see if it's possible to take long, slow, full breaths, even as you're in this potentially strange position. And when you're ready, you can release that. If you'd like to take a moment to try some windshield wipers or anything else you need to do, go ahead right here. And whenever that feels complete, take your time coming up into a seated position. So once you're seated and take your time getting there, you might want to place a cushion under your hips or a block if you have a block, just to elevate your hips up, which can sometimes give us a little more freedom to find this kind of hinge at our hips. And once you are upright and you've found something to place under your hips, extend your legs out into what for you feels like a wide legged position that is comfortable enough to sustain for a bit. You can bring your fingertips alongside you, kind of press them into the floor and see if you can sit up tall here. Maybe bring a flex into your feet and a little bit of activation into your legs. So maybe you'll feel your quads contracting here. And then you can either stay here, lifting yourself up, extending long through the crown of your head, or if you feel like it's possible and comfortable and you'd like to try folding forward, keeping your uh, self from rounding too much through your back, you can try that. So either option is really great. Just make sure you're listening to what your body has to say today. And notice if you can feel a stretch anywhere, if there's any kind of sensation anywhere as you're here in Upavishta Konasana. If you're folded forward, you can come back up and then you can bend your knees and maybe take your hands and help them come back in and make your way up to standing in whatever way works for you. And once you're standing, just make sure if you're using blocks or a piece of furniture or anything that it's kind of within reach. And then step your legs a little bit wider and begin to kind of twist your body and shift your weight towards whatever leg you're leaning towards. You can kind of allow your arms to gently just kind of windmill around your body. And you can make this as gentle or as vigorous as you like. Maybe take a few deep breaths. You might sigh them out through your mouth. You might try horse lips. So fluttering your lips. And then you can let that slow down, come back to center, and step to the front of your mat. So once you're at the front of your mat, find mountain. So Tadasana. Your feet can be right together, they can be a little apart. Maybe roll your shoulders back. Take a deep breath, sigh it out. And then when you're ready, you can place your hand at a wall or something for balance here. Lift your right knee up. So, really pressing down through your left leg. And then, when you're ready, step that right leg back into a long lunge. And once you've done that, you can either stay up on the toes of that back foot, or if it feels better to you, you could spin your heel down. So you're in this lunge, this kind of warrior one position. If you want to, you can stretch your arms up into cactus arms, goalposts, or you might stretch your arms up straight. Take a few breaths here in whatever version of warrior one, Virabhadrasana one you're choosing today. And then bring your arms into a wide T if that works for you. And if you'd like to try coming into a little bit of a twist here, you might kind of lean your body forward just a little bit so that you're not really rounding in your low back. And then see what it's like to kind of twist towards that bent knee to any degree, and then twist away from it. You might try that out a few times, just kind of seeing what it feels like in your body today. And if twisting doesn't seem like the thing to do, you could certainly stay facing kind of towards your bent knee. Then come back to center and make your way back to the front of your mat. So that might involve one big step or a few hops to the front. Once you're there, pause in mountain and notice what you're feeling. Take a few deep breaths. And then when you're ready, try that on the other side. So bring all your weight into your right leg, lift your left knee. You can have your hand somewhere for balance. Take a few breaths. And when you're ready, step that left leg back into your long lunge. And same thing here. You can stay up on the toes of that back leg, or you can spin your heel down, whatever feels better to you. If you'd like to bring your arms into goalposts, you can go ahead and try that. Make sure you're breathing and noticing, how is this posture working for you? Is there anything you need to shift around? And if you'd like to try the same thing we did on the other side, you might lean forward a little just to kind of make that arch in your back a little less. Maybe you extend your arms out to the side. Maybe you try twisting a little towards your bent knee and then away from it, just kind of rotating a couple of times. Maybe you choose to stay centered, to stay centered. It's up to you. And then when you're ready, come back to center and take your time making your way back to the front of your mat. Pause in mountain. Take a few deep breaths. You might sigh them out. And then when you're ready, we're going to try that again on the first side. So ground through your right leg. No, left leg. Lift your right leg.
And this time you can step back the same way we did last time, or you might consider pressing that leg back and kind of keeping it in the air, finding a moment of balance in a warrior three pose before dropping your right leg down to the ground. And once you find your long lunge, find your footing. You might kind of toe heel your feet out to the sides of your mat a little for some more stability. You might turn that back heel down. Maybe bring your arms into cactus arms. And then you could stay here. You could try the same kind of twisting motion that we tried before. Or if you have some blocks, you might bring your right hand down to your block and then open through your left arm, twisting your body towards the left. So lots of options here. Awesome. Wherever you are, make sure you're breathing and make sure you're choosing something that really works for you today. When you're ready, come back into your high lunge, straighten through that front leg, and then make your way to the front of your mat again. Pause at the front of your mat. Maybe take a deep breath and try horse lips. And then when you're ready, we're going to try that on the other side. So ground through your right leg, lift your left knee, and either step that leg back or you could try sending that leg back and hovering it for a moment of balance in warrior three before then setting it down. Whatever you choose, once you find your long lunge, adjust your feet, adjust your stance so that it's really working for you. So maybe your back heel is up, maybe it's spun down. Maybe you take a moment with goalpost arms, cactus arms, or maybe you head right into twisting, arms out straight, twisting from side to side. Or maybe you decide to lean forward, bring your left hand to your block, and then open your right arm towards the right. And if you're doing that, your back heel may come up. It might not. It's just going to depend on what feels right in your body. Awesome. Whatever you're doing, take your time coming back to your long lunge. When you're there, straighten your front leg, and then take your time coming to the front of your mat. Find mountain pose, Tadasana. And if it feels okay to you, go ahead and close your eyes. And you might take a moment to do kind of a quick body scan. So maybe you start from your feet, noticing how your feet are feeling, maybe your ankles, notice your calves, your knees, your thighs and hips. See how your core is feeling, both the back and the front. Notice your shoulders and arms, your hands, and then see how your neck feels. And finally, your head. Maybe take a really deep inhale through your nose and sigh out through your mouth. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them. Next time you inhale, sweep your arms up. Maybe stretch a little more through your left fingertips and then your right. Come back to center and then hinging from your hips, fold forward. And you can have a bend in your knees here. Just take a moment in a forward fold to see how it's feeling in your body. And if it's not good on your low back, you might bend your knees and bring your forearms to your thighs with a flat back. That can be a really nice option. Breathe here in your forward fold, Uttanasana. And then, as you're ready, in any way at all, you can come down to a seated position on your mat. So maybe you bring your hands to the ground and come into a squat and drop your bottom, or anything. And once you're down on your mat, you might prop your hips up again and extend your legs out in front of you. Bring your fingertips to the floor at your sides, and then bend your right leg and place that foot on the floor in front of you. And you can keep it here, or you could see what it's like to place that foot over your left leg. And if that doesn't work for you, definitely keep it on the inside of that leg. But if it does work for you, you can go ahead and keep it there. And then take your left arm and take hold of your opposite knee and begin twisting your body towards the right. You might consider twisting your neck so that you can look over your right shoulder. But if that doesn't work for you, your neck will tell you and you can not do it. Take a few breaths here, not forcing anything, but just coming into a gentle twist. And as you inhale, you might think about lengthening up through your spine. And as you exhale, you might think about really feeling that twist. When you're ready, you can unwind. And if your foot is stepped over your leg, you could bring it to the inside again. And then stretch that leg out. Bend your left leg and place that foot down on the floor. Decide whether you want to keep it on the inside of your leg or step it over. And then, same thing here. Your right hand will come to your left knee. You can bring your left arm behind you with your fingertips and twist to that side. So maybe your head is neutral. Maybe you turn your head to look over your left shoulder. See if you can take full, long breaths. Inhaling, really extending up long through your spine. Exhaling, feeling the twist. When you're ready, you can unwind and take a moment to think about what position you'd like to be in for Shavasana. So if you want to lie down in a traditional shavasana with your arms and legs, just kind of lolling out to the side, lying on your back, you can do that. If you'd like to sit in a more upright position, you can do that, or anything that feels comfortable and restful for you today. And take your time finding whatever position works for you. If you'd like to close your eyes for Shavasana, you could do that. You could also just rest your gaze somewhere. You could focus on your breath. To see if you can let go of your thoughts. If you're following your thoughts, see if you can just let them go and come back into the present. And if you would like to stay in Shavasana, you can stay in Shavasana, but we're at the end of our time. So if you would like to transition into another position now, you can do that. And if you're choosing to stay in Shavasana, I can sign you out. But wherever you are, you might take just a moment to feel some gratitude towards yourself for a very specific reason, if you can find just one reason, and just a moment to appreciate the practice of yoga and the many people who developed the practice in ancient India and South Asia. Yeah. Thanks for practicing with me today.